Well, thank you all. Good morning. And thank you for braving the time change. It's a little bit. This one's harder. Is it harder for everybody? Good. I tell you, this morning I felt like a zombie. But I already gave that talk, so I'm not going to go into that. Today, we're talking about perspective. And we're talking about expansion and how that all fits. And so I wanted to start with the whole idea of a construct or construct. When we construct, we build. And so this morning, I had all my constructs in place. My construct is that I am actually walking on this planet, that everything is solid. Your construct is that you're actually sitting in that chair right now. Part of my construct was, hey, if I put a piece of silk around my neck, everybody will take me more serious. So, because I have this, I know now that you are going to take me more serious. Some of you are incredibly uncomfortable seeing me in a tie, and I appreciate that. And then I was going to take it off, but the construct was that this microphone would then have nothing to hang on to. And so the microphone asked me to leave it in place, and so I said, fine, I'm good with that. So the microphone's there. See, constructs are things that we bring with us that hold our realities together. So when we're going to expand or entertain the possibility of expansion, we need to be willing to entertain other possibility. So I have a mouse on the picture right there with this cheese. Many of you have read the book, Who Moved My Cheese? Big, simple little book, a simple little story. But basically it talks about how, these mice that were the characters, somebody moved the cheese that they were used to getting, and how that turned their worlds upside down. You see, the mice had a construct. And that was that if we show up every day at the same time, at the same place, the cheese will be there. So let's go to the next one. Thank you. So when we see up here, we have the construct, the mouse, the maze, and the cheese. And we look at that, we laugh and say how simplistic that is. Poor little mouse, he doesn't know any better. Well, this conversation is to entertain the part of us that doesn't know any better, that doesn't know it's the mouse in the maze. So let's go to the next one. So here we amp up the maze. We make it a little bit more complex. Only see ourselves as the mouse. And how many of you are already tracing your way through the maze? Okay, I'm getting to the TV. I knew that would happen. I love that. I love this little TV over there, and my little recliner. Okay, and we consider this whole thing our day that we have to navigate. And think about it, the terms we use. I got to get through the day. Okay, so that what? So I can get to the recliner and watch the TV. There's my cheese. Okay? It's a construct. It was one that's been built on us for a really long time. And we're really comfortable with it. And so when somebody moves our cheese or puts a little wall there, our world comes crashing down. And what do those walls look like? They can look like bad health. They can look like a cold car wreck. They could look like something happened to your life. And I'm a big proponent of powerful living. What that means is that you realize it's a maze. That's powerful living. And you bring you to the maze. You see the distinction between you and the mouse. You see, every day we say, well, let's get more educated. I want to get better at my job. No different than the mouse getting better at navigating the maze. We can see mice that are exposed to gigantic mazes, and they practically run through it. Something with a brain this big, okay, running through that maze because they want to get to the cheese. So when we talk about expansion, the first thing that we need to entertain is the possibility that you are in a maze. There's a movie called The Matrix, where there's that discussion about understanding that this is all a matrix, all something that's held together by more nothing than something. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's go to the next slide. So now what you're looking at behind you, or behind me, is a maze with people in it. We actually build mazes. We love them. Now, there's mazes that we use for meditation that are symbolic. This one happens to be made out of snow, and everybody's having fun with it. But how far from reality is that? That we walk through our mazes. It's interesting because in our life, we built things that look like mazes. Let's go to the next one. Here's an interesting maze. And we're the mouse in our little car, and we navigate the maze every day. This is going to change your perspective of driving now. I'm the little mouse getting in my little car, navigating my little maze to get to my cheese. Okay? And it keeps going on and on. And what I'm trying to get across here is until we let go of the perspective that everything is in this plane, we are trading out one maze for another. So let's make our maze a little bigger. Let's go to the next one. So here we have the maze that's a little bit bigger because we've added perspective. So this is what happens to us when we find out about science of mind and new possibility. We go, oh, it's all bigger and it's all connected. But it's not going to do you a hoot of good until you realize that it's still a maze. See, we talk about powerful living. We talk about the God within you. We talk about spiritual mind treatment that we can carry on right over here. Okay? We talk about making change. But as long as you're staying in your maze, in that dimension, that's very hard to do. Because what will happen is, as you start stepping out of that maze, you're trading that for another one. So let's make our maze a little bit bigger. Let's go to the next one. That's Douglas County. So it's way up there from high up. But you can see that we divide things into grids, spaces, lines, all of that, trying to put perspective to our human experience. Nonetheless, we keep it the human experience. And until you trade that human experience for divine experience, which is what you are, you're locked in just trading one for another. So let's trade this for another maze. Let's go to the next one. Oh, look, the maze is bigger. It's our country. Still a maze. We still navigate it. Okay? Poor Jamie, she's sitting over here. She had to drive in the maze all the way up to there. Just got back the day before yesterday, or that I should say, yeah, early morning for a funeral. Okay? Bitter cold up there. So the maze changes. Some places it's nice and hot. Okay? There again, we're locked in perspective. Let's go to the next one. There's a heck of a maze. Okay? Perspective. Let's go to the next one. So, when we talk about being in this existence and wanting to expand, we got to put our head around some possibilities. Okay? So, if the sun is 1 foot diameter, like a basketball, the Earth would be represented by a BB pellet. And that BB would be 107 feet away. There's Earth right there. That little tiny dot, and that's the sun. So I wanted to give you some perspective. So here's our Earth. And why am I doing this? Okay, this isn't a lesson in astronomy. This is a lesson in perspective. So, there's Earth, and there's the sun. Now, if this sun were where it is in space, suspended there, this would be 107 feet away. That means it would be in the parking lot, for perspective. Okay? Now, when we talk about perspective, we're still saying, well, okay, well, that still fits with my construct because, you know, I'm here, and God's, and there again, this is separation, duality. Separation, God's somewhere else, and duality, you know, there's two of us instead of it all being together. So let's take a look then at a little bit of a jump in our perspective. We already see how tiny our planet is. Now, let's look at our planet from the SETI telescope, which is basically watching the sun. So it's kind of between us and the sun, okay? So there we are. There's Neptune. This just happens to be, our planets are kind of in alignment. So there's Neptune and there's Earth. Okay? Kind of weird, isn't it? That we're a star. And we're on a star in a galaxy of stars. What does that look like? So let's go next one here. So our sun can't even be seen, but it's right there where that little red dot is in space. Now we could consider this a really big maze that we have to navigate. But I want you to ask yourself the question, and I've asked this to my classes, would all of this be here if you, singularly you, and the consciousness that you represent weren't here to perceive it? The truth is, in your sphere, none would exist. None. Because you're not here to see it. So the cool thing about perspective and the divine in each of us is that each of us holds all of this together. All of it. Now we're going to take a look at a hydrogen atom. Hydrogen atom is a simple atom. Let's go to the next. You got it up there. There we go. There's the hydrogen atom. Now this little fella right there is called an electron. And this middle part is neutrons and protons. And what you look at is life repeating itself. Okay? Repeating itself in the stamp of everything. We can talk about sacred geometry. We can look at the fingerprint of the divine in about everything. From the way our DNA is put together to how our bones and the frame that we occupy in these machines that we walk around in. I call them avatars. How interesting that is. So let's give a little bit, and so what we've done is we've gone way out there in space. And we've looked at how tiny we are, and now what we're doing is we're reversing the trip. We're going inside of where you are. And this is going on within you right now. So we have your body made up of molecules, and your molecules are made up of atoms. And atoms have a structure like this. And we assume and theorize that these have something making them up, which are called quarks, which are the commonality in everything. Although we only have to break it down to this space here and the electron. Now, a cool thing about an electron is that an electron is a lot like this picture, in that the electron behaves differently if you're watching it. Cool. It's called the observer effect. It's been quantified, and I could go in and bore a lot of you with the observer effect. But I'm just going to basically say this. We know those electrons are there because they held still when we were taking pictures of them. But in reality, when they're there without consciousness, they exist as a cloud, zooming around this at so much speed that it looks like fuzz. So let's get some dimension here when we're talking about we went outward. let's look inward. So let's go to the next one. So a basketball-sized proton, remember we talked about the sun, and we talked about our little BB. So if this is the center of the atom, and this is the electron, and you are made up of these components, this little electron, remember the other one in the sun, the earth, is 107 feet away out in the parking lot? This would be at Park Meadows. Am I getting into your heads a little bit yet? So what's, then we ask the question, well, what's in between there? I wish I could stretch my arms that far. There's nothing. Nothing between these. And this is zooming around at Park Meadows, or going around this thing so fast that it looks like a cloud. And this is going on inside you. So when we look at this, right there, this is the representation of the cloud, the electron zooming around. Let's go to the next one. Then, let's compare them. See some similarity there? Okay? That's the Milky Way galaxy. And there we are. Proton and neutron and electron zooming around it. Spheres, all of them. The little building blocks of the illusion. The scripture says, as above, so below. As without, so within. What that means is, as in heaven, so with you. Jesus taught, the Father and I are one, and you and I are one. Therefore, you and the Father are one. Blasphemy! People freaked out when they heard that. They didn't know this, but you do. The divine is within you. I've laid out, I believe, a pretty compelling argument for that. So to put this in perspective, inside you are galaxies, solar systems, all that God is. See, we could still drag this back to the maze and make this a maze going, well, this is all the stuff I'm made of while I'm in the maze getting my cheese. But what I'm saying here is you're the maze. You're the cheese. You're the mouse. You're the floor the mouse is resting on. Because it's all in and through the same thing. So when we talk about perspective or putting on the silk tie to make an impression, it's all a construct. When we say release and let go, as we sang in the song, what that means is release your construct, let go of it, and be in your divinity. I love telling people that they are the divine, that they are God manifest right here, right now. Because I'll tell you what, if you want to move somebody's cheese, tell them that. You know? Well, no, wait, I'm just the lab rat. Okay? Because the divine is a scary thing. You see, we have a whole construct about it. We have the construct that we got these heavenly hands holding everything together, and we're carefully in there, and we'll cease. It could all cease to exist. It could all be over. There's so many people that worry, calculate. The same people are calculating a bunch of this stuff that I told you are calculating, well, when's the earth going to end? Oh, it's going to end in 1 billion years. Gee, I better buy my plot, because it's just right around the corner. Okay? They don't realize that everything's an end and a beginning. It doesn't, it's amazing that everything moves in circles. Do circles have an end or a beginning? They don't. See, That's the whole signature. So you, in the divine, are signing your name. God, eternal, never end, never begin. It's you. And you have it in and through and holding you. So when I was being a little bit coy and saying, well, you know, you think you're sitting in that chair, think about it. Are you really sitting in that chair? I will opt to identify that your consciousness has chosen to be focused right here and right now. And when you meditate, you go to that place that holds everything. Everything, all knowledge, all of it. It's all there. And where's there? Well, it's everywhere. And everywhere has a lot of space in between it, like we talked about. It's interesting. I was going to pull up my little marker, my little pellet. That's why I put it as a stick, because it's like, man, I'm going to lose that little tiny thing, and it did. It wandered away. So when we're talking about comparisons, I'm going to have to use something else here. Yeah, okay, well, here is another little bead. So here we go. Little tiny bead. Can't see it. Okay? I want you to think about the comparisons that you make to yourself all the time. Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I strong enough? Am I smart enough? Okay? Am I capable enough? And I'm comparing myself to all these things that we perceive are really important. And that's kind of funny, because that would be kind of like the earth going, well, I'm so much less than the sun because look how big the sun is. And then, then we look here and we go, where? Where's the sun? I don't see it. They literally had to put an arrow on it because it's so tiny. So when we make those comparisons, I want you to imagine yourself going back and picking up a big old piece of cheese and putting on your Mickey Mouse ears. Okay, because that's what we're doing, is we're comparing to something that merits no comparison. And hopefully in this conversation, you've taken away, wow, those comparisons are kind of silly. Because it looks the same outside with distance and time and all that stuff as it does inside with distance and time. And the thing that's real is me, you, here, now, consciousness, shared and manifest in and through you, the divine. The God within you as you. The leaves of an eternal tree. Drawn together by that life trunk, those branches that we call source. Connected to that life source that we call earth. Floating out there in that tiny speck. So it's all in all. Let's go to the next one. So, you really are one with all it is. And all it is one with you. So when we talk about expanding, we can expand physically, go eat a bunch of stuff, okay? We can expand intellectually, but true expansion happens here. That matters, up here, and understanding who and how you are. Now, I want to guarantee you that who you think or what you think you are is only scratching a scratch of a scratch of a scratch on the surface. The divine power within you is immeasurable. And this little experience that we call life is just that. It's an experience. A game. Some of you in the classes have heard me talk about the hologram. This. Imagine divine spirit existing for millennia and millennia. Creating and imagining and thinking of new possibility. Built on new possibility, built on new possibility forever and ever and ever. When I look at how far we've come with video games in 30 years, from ding, 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 pong, to games now that we can play with 3D effects against people on the other side of the planet. Our quest has always been for reality, for the experience. Tack a couple billion years onto that, this whole experience doesn't seem that outlandish. The commonality is us. Being there the whole time, experiencing, unfolding. Now, I'm really going to get into your brain a little bit with, I hope I have already, I hope you're straining to hold all this in. But imagine then, huh?
As always.
Imagine then that I want to experience my life as Art observing Tony. And then Paige, Kathleen, on and on. And then it's like, well, now I want to experience my life as Tony observing me. And on and on and on. You know, I believe it's a Hindu saying that goes on to say that eternity is all of us experiencing all of us as all of us. You see, if you take time out of the equation, which is a measurement, and there is no time, all of it is right now. Because we have this thing that goes tick, 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 tick. We assign value to it. No different than distance. That thing that we've called distance. Now here's a little bit of a mind tweak. You take that away, distance is gone. Just is. In and out. Let's go for our next one. So, all that is one with you. Tried to find a picture that would convey all that. With the lighting, this is kind of our Castle Rock area, clouds and the earth and planets. Imagine that. So it all is one with you. And the flip is, you're one with all. The thing that separates you is your construct, what you hold in to be your apparent reality, like a silk tie, that you give value to, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with any of this. But I hope you see that you can't really mess it up. Okay? In our lives, we have this thing called consequence. I do this, this happens. And we confuse that with a God that's sitting there waiting to move your cheese. Okay? Let all that go. Because it isn't so. And relax into it. Have fun with your life. Let's go to the next one. All in perfection, just like you. The universe, you. So you can see it's really a gross underestimate or a gross understatement when we say, well, the universe. You know, the universe is going to bring me this. You understand, I could have brought you a picture of other, you know, the concept of other universes laid out like galaxies, laid out and on and on and on. There's something so much bigger than all of that. And at the same time, there's something so much smaller than all of that. And bigger and smaller are the same constructs of dimension in our minds. You, on the other hand, are everything. The divine is within you. And I invite you that if you don't appreciate your version, your manifestation that you're having right now, then change it. And you'll hear people say that all the time. But the fun part of what I get to do in this existence, using this avatar right now, is to tell you the power is within you to do that. Anytime you want. When you realize, though, and here's what it takes, to realize you're the mouse in the maze, and to realize the maze and all that is. When we construct a house, we build a foundation, and then we put boards on top of that, and all the things that make up a house. And the foundation of that house is false belief. Jesus taught that the house that is built on the sand, has no foundation, will fall. And the house that's built on the rock, which is, and he says, what that I am, when the storms come, will stand. The sandy house, the sandy foundation, is the foundation of false belief in the illusion, in the maze. The house built on the rock that will never fall is the house built on truth. And that truth is what you are. Right here, right now, a perfect, whole, and complete manifestation of the divine. In every sense. It's my prayer and my hope that you will take what you've seen today with perspectives and how things fit together and the possibility of the universe being in every cell of your body, realizing how powerful you are and how you are absolutely God in your creation of your life. Let's pray.